Identify theme and summarize texts. The theme of a fictional story is similar to a main idea in an informational text. The theme is the overall message or lesson that the author wants you to take away from his writing. To find the theme, you're going to make inferences based on information provided through the plot elements as well as details in the text. In longer works, such as a novel, it is not uncommon for the author to develop multiple themes. Typical themes that we see in fictional texts would be things such as courage, honesty, love, loyalty, or hope. As part of TABE testing, you will be given excerpts from fictional texts and you will have to make inferences to determine the theme that the author is trying to bring out. Let us take a look at an example from the novel Treasure Island. This is a story that was written by Robert Louis Stevenson, and the theme that he brings out within the story is the quest for adventure. He develops this theme through his characters and their dialogue with each other, the points of view that they have. In addition, he uses sensory details, symbols, mood, tone, and plot elements that all point to this big idea of that search for adventure. For example, his character Long John Silver is a representation in and of himself of adventure. Other themes that he explores in the story are morality, innocence, and the search for role models. All of these themes are developed using evidence from the text within Treasure Island. Let's take a look at an example. As we've just stated, the theme of Treasure Island is an exploration of the quest for adventure. Two of the textual details that help us draw that inference are as follows. When Jim encounters his first pirate, he thinks it was a fine excitement in a quiet country life. Another example, in the midst of a dangerous situation, Jim is hiding from pirates. However, he decides to go closer because my curiosity, in a sense, was stronger than my fear. Both of these details help demonstrate evidence that Jim has this desire for adventure in his life. Before we move off from theme, a couple of things that we need to remember. Like any kind of claim that we will make, the theme of a story is debatable. Sometimes literary scholars are going to disagree on themes in literary texts. It's kind of like that old adage that everybody has an opinion. I may read a story and it will speak to me in a way that maybe it doesn't speak to you. Nevertheless, we should be able to look at those details within the story and draw those inferences to determine what we think the author is trying to tell us. So we need to use that evidence from the text to prove that our conclusion about the theme is valid. As part of TABE testing, you will also be asked to summarize texts. Just to recap from earlier lessons on summary, it is simply a brief retelling of the key events in the story. The thing we need to remember is that a summary is just a simple overview of the text. The details in and of themselves are not important. All we are doing is just briefly and concisely retelling those most important events. Now, if we need to use details in order to explain the events, then they would be included in the summary. We also need to remember that the summary is in chronological orders. It's going to follow the order of the plot elements. We write a summary by beginning with an exposition, just basically telling what the story is. We'll touch on the central conflict in the story, and then the key events that surround that conflict. We want to make sure that we include the climax. What is that high point of the story? And then finally close our summary with the resolution. Once again, let's consider Treasure Island and think about a good summary of that story. Jim Hawkins is a teenage boy whose father has died and left Jim and his mother struggling financially. Jim embarks on a journey with two family friends and a group of former pirates to uncover buried treasure. When the crew mutinies, Jim partners with another pirate to save his friends and locate the treasure. Jim is successful and returns home to enjoy a quiet life. Here we see that this summary just simply recounts the key events in Treasure Island. We don't discuss the theme of the story, we're just focused on those events. Also, there's no textual evidence to prove a claim because we're not making one. We are just simply giving a brief overview of what the story is about. In addition, we don't provide any kind of commentary or explanation on the merits of the text. It's just a brief description about Treasure Island. Let's take a look at one more example and see if we can develop a good summary of this story. "What have you got there?" Max asked, peering at the device Sam was holding. "It's the new smartphone," Sam said, his thumbs working the device at lightning speed. "It's so fast it does everything." "Sweet," Max said. "They're about $500. How did you get one? Steal it?" "Nah," Sam said. "I got it from a friend." TR, who was standing nearby, snickered. So did Rob. "Yeah, he got it from a friend who got it from another friend. It's good to know friends who can get you whatever you want," TR said. "Right, Sam?" "Hey," Sam said defensively. "If he didn't sell it to me, he'd sell it to someone else. Besides, if some kid is stupid enough to leave it lying around, he gets what he deserves." "What did you pay for it?" Max asked. "It was $100, Sam said. "No tax," TR smirked. Max thought about it. So the smartphone was stolen. Was that so bad? Maybe Sam was right. If some kid was stupid enough not to take care of his stuff, he needed to learn a lesson. So what is a good summary of this excerpt from The Devil's Deal? Remember, our summary is just simply a brief overview of the story. We're going to include key details and make sure that we list them in the order that they occur within the story. So here will be a good, brief summary of The Devil's Deal. Sam has a new smartphone he got for $100. Max wants one, but his friend TR thinks the phone is stolen. Sam does not think it matters where the phone came from, and that is not his responsibility. No discussion of theme. It's just simply retelling the events as they occur so that you know what this story is about.